More fallout for Sean Diddy Combs, and this time a major law firm has dropped him as a client. But why now? Well, we're going to talk with renowned celebrity attorney Bradford Cohen to get his take on this latest move. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Another interesting development or developments in the Sean Diddy Combs saga. So the high-powered law firm of Grubman Shire Meiselas Sacks has dropped Combs as a client. Now, this is the firm of Alan Grubman, who is a very prominent entertainment lawyer that represents some very big names. The Weeknd, Madonna, Chris Brown, Paul Simon, Usher, Bruce Springsteen. In fact, by the way, Alan Grubman was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He actually helped found that back in the 1980s. So gives you an idea about how big of a powerhouse this firm is. Now let's go back to Sean Combs. So the rumor circulating is that this firm did this because singer and actress Lady Gaga had threatened to leave the firm unless they parted ways with Combs. This is according to reporting by News Nation. And it's a big deal because the rapper and producer had apparently been with Grubman's firm for over 20 years. He was friends with Alan Grubman by all accounts. And there's more that's happening right now for Diddy, right? We had mentioned that Combs had apparently deleted his entire Instagram account. We did an episode on Sidebar about that. Now it's being reported that he just dropped a $60 million lawsuit that he had been embroiled in litigation for the past 3 years or so with the former owners of his former clothing company, Sean John, for continuing to use his name, image, and likeness after he sold almost his entire stake in the company years ago. But now they seem to have reached an agreement, has dropped the lawsuit. Not sure what the details are of that settlement or if this is in any way connected or affected by the other ongoing legal troubles of Sean Diddy Combs. Because remember, Combs has been hit with multiple lawsuits since November of 2023, alleging sexual assault, sex trafficking, harassment, illegal drug and firearms possession, violence, intimidation. His homes in LA and Miami that were raided by federal agents reportedly pursuant to an ongoing human trafficking investigation by the Southern District of New York. CNN had published a video purportedly of Combs back in 2016, savagely beating his ex-girlfriend Cassandra Ventura in a hotel elevator bank. He had issued an apology on Instagram 2 days after that release. And so all of this has been happening. And then, as we reported too, on Sidebar, he's since deleted all of his Instagram posts, including the apology video. And I want to be clear about something. There's been no arrests that have been made in connection with this investigation. There have been no criminal charges that have been filed. But experts we have spoken to agree that an indictment could be on the horizon. Obviously, we have no way to know for sure, but given what we've seen, at the very least, it shouldn't be surprising if we see this in the near future. But again, we shall see. So what does this all mean now? Well, for that, I want to bring in criminal defense attorney and civil trial lawyer Bradford Cohen, who knows a thing or two about representing celebrities like, look at his roster, Drake, Kodak Black, Lil Wayne. Bradford, so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming back here on Sidebar. I think this is a big deal, right, for a firm to drop a high-powered client like this, because it's not like an agent. Lawyers are supposed to stand up for their clients when they get into legal trouble or accused of wrongdoing.
Yeah, it really is very strange. I mean, I've seen it happen before. It's not reported on, obviously, because it may be that the high-powered individuals that are embroiled in these kind of conflicts where they say, hey, if you represent A, I'm not going to have you continue to represent me. And it's usually very high net worth individuals that might not be newsworthy like this one. But yeah, it's unusual that the move is that she went to them allegedly and said, hey, listen, if you keep representing Sean Combs, then I'm not going to allow you to represent myself. I think it's an unusual move. Now, sometimes it's because of a personal issue that individual may or may not have had with that individual. But if it's just a kind of a question of her own morality or her version of whatever ethical obligation she has to herself and saying like, hey, if you represent me on contracts, then I can't let you represent this other individual that's accused of all these heinous crimes on contracts. I think that in this bubble, it's kind of a stretch. If it was a criminal defendant and someone said, hey, listen, this person has been brought up on horrible crimes, horrendous facts, and he is now charged with a crime. I don't feel comfortable with a law firm that's going to go forward representing him. If you're also representing me, that would be a little bit more understanding. But as of right now, he is not indicted. He has been accused of a lot of things. Obviously, he's settling out some of these civil cases, which I think is a smart idea. I believe the reason why some of these cases are settling out is probably because it's time for depositions. And certainly in a case where you have a civil case, it gives you leverage when the individual is being prosecuted criminally, because you're asking for a deposition on that civil case where you could explore some of those criminal issues that go to his character or his veracity for truthfulness, things of that nature, where you want to avoid being deposed. And I believe that's why that civil case was probably settled. It's probably in a later stage of the civil realm than some of these other cases. Some of these other cases are brand new, so those depositions might not be set. This case, I think, was probably a little bit older, and that's why you're at a stage where depositions would be taken.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's Law and Crime YouTube takeover. We are very proud to be partners with Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. This is a firm that has secured verdicts and settlements for their clients in the multi-millions. They don't settle for lowball offers. They fight for your legal rights. They fight for what you deserve in compensation. They make the whole process easy for their clients too, because from uploading documents to talking to your whole legal team, it can all be done from your smartphone. There's also zero upfront fee. You only pay them if you win. So if you've ever been injured in an accident, you can easily start your claim with Morgan & Morgan by going to forthepeople.com/YouTube takeover. Just to read the tea leaves a little bit as well, would I be so far off in saying that you don't want to continue with a massive litigation like that in an effort to save your money and resources because you think you're about to be brought up on criminal charges? That can get expensive to defend it. Am I totally off? And again, we don't know if criminal charges are coming, but am I thinking it the wrong way?
It's not crazy. Civil cases take a long time, right? So civil cases generally take anywhere from 18 to 36 months to really get to the point where you're ready for trial. There's discovery stages, there's motions that are filed, there's objections that are filed. So sometimes, yes, that comes into play. If you have a high-powered civil firm that is billing you a couple $1 million a month, and you could settle something out for 15 million or 20 million, and you know that this may drag on for another year, then it's just a matter of economics. Sometimes people get very, very caught up in these civil cases personality-wise, where they're just like, I want to spend anything it takes to make sure this individual feels like I'm not going to be taken advantage of. When it comes down to something like economics, yes, you have a point. It could be that these firms, these very large firms that are charging $2,000, $2,500 an hour, they can bill $500,000, $1 million a month without even blinking an eye. And like I said, if you think that this is going to go on for another 12, 18 months and you're doing the economics and you can settle something for 20 million bucks, you might want to do that. And especially, like I said, I think also it comes into play that discovery fact that he might have to take the fifth if during a deposition they're asking questions about his veracity for truthfulness or his character. And if you take the fifth, obviously that's not a good look for any kind of motions that they may want to file, a motion for summary judgment or anything like that.
And just to go back, the reason I'm asking this question is because everybody wants to know whether or not Sean Combs is going to be indicted, right? I think that's what a lot of people are wondering, and they're trying to see every single development or legal development or PR development. Does that give them a window into what might be happening or what Combs might be happening? And you mentioned something to me, and I thought it was really interesting. The Grubman's firm does civil work, right? They don't do criminal defense work. Diddy hasn't been charged with a crime at this point in time, but I do find it interesting that again, allegedly Lady Gaga went to them and said, either you drop him or I'm leaving. Now, right? So we had all the lawsuits going on. We had the raids going on. We had the Cassandra Ventura video happen. We had the apology video happen. The fact that this is happening now, what does that tell you? Again, assuming this allegation's true that she went to them and they decided to drop him.
It could be coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I've been saying, the Southern District of New York is a very serious district. My belief is he's going to be indicted before the end of the summer. I've been saying that since the first day of the raid. I think they're just dotting their I's and crossing their T's. And it could be, listen, we could be looking at like maybe Lady Gaga or someone she knows was subpoenaed to be in front of a grand jury. I don't know, and it could be that she started to feel uncomfortable knowing that this thing is moving forward. Who knows? But certainly I know that Lady Gaga is a individual that looks out for her image very closely. I think that she hires individuals that are the type of individuals that keep their cards close to their chest. She's not out there doing crazy stuff. You don't see pictures of her doing crazy things. I ran across her once at a hotel in New York. She was at the bar at a hotel in New York. She had very, very low key security, not big, gigantic guys that are pushing people out of the way. And in fact, when someone was taking a picture of her at the bar, one of her like low key security guys walked over and said, "Hey, listen, if you guys delete that photo, we can treat you to the next round. It's really not appropriate," and was totally cool about it. And I think that's the type of individual. I was impressed because a lot of my clients hire those big guys that are like, very aggressive, and she's very low key. So it doesn't surprise me that she would pull this move if she actually did. Because I don't think she wants to be associated in any way, shape, or manner with something that may ding her image or ding, the type of reputation she has. And there could be more to it. Like I said, yeah. I don't know if she's dealt with him in the past and they wanted to talk to her about something. Who knows?
But this is a big loss, right? Do you know anything about Alan Grubman? Or his firm or his reputation?
I mean, the guy's he's pretty much a legend. Yeah, he's a legend if you're a lawyer that deals with entertainers, and I've been doing this for 27 years, and you don't know who he is, I'd be surprised because he's represented not only living artists for a long time, he's represented estates of artists in selling
the estate
their
of David Bowie, I believe, right?
Correct. So he's a well-known guy. And he's got an impeccable reputation. So you'd be hard pressed to find someone who's in this field and deals with entertainers that wouldn't know who he is.
Does that make it difficult for another big powered firm to take up Diddy as a client, even on the civil front, after Grubman's firm dropped him or allegedly dropped him?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. I think he'll find new representation. I don't think it's impossible. Certainly, there's always lawyers that are willing to take someone that's willing to pay them. So, whether or not it's going to be a firm that's as high powered as his, I don't know. But there's a lot of excellent attorneys in the entertainment field. I'm very good friends with Theo Settlemyer, who's another attorney who does, Eminem and 50 Cent. And so, listen, there's different individuals in that field that are excellent, and I think they'll be able to find somebody.
But in that case, he wouldn't be able to represent him because he represents 50 Cent, who has quite an adverse relationship to. But which, by the way, makes me, just to go back from a legal point of view, Grubman's firm, is that a conflict if you have one client who doesn't like your other client? Not that they're necessarily in a legal battle with one another or they have adverse interests, but if one client doesn't like the other client, is that a conflict at all?
It's not a conflict where you have to get off the case. The only time it would be a conflict if they have a direct conflict, right? If they are embroiled in a lawsuit, or if one's suing someone on the other one's team, things of that nature. Listen, it's more of, hey, listen, I don't want to do business with you guys if you're doing business with this person. And listen, when you're doing like me, I represent a lot of individuals that are in the rap business. And you know how there's always these rap beefs. So I always have to check who has a beef with who before I pick up a new case, because sometimes my old clients might have a problem with my new clients. And I always check with them first because, like I said, I have a very good relationship. I've been representing some of my clients for 10 or 15 years. So I always try to, gauge that. And I've turned people down because of those type of perceived conflicts. and it's not an ethical responsibility for me to do because there's no direct conflict, but certainly for me, a moral responsibility to my clients, I would do that.
While I have you, before I let you go, I talked about this on an earlier sidebar. I want your perspective. You know, Diddy's Instagram, and we did a whole sidebar on this, has been used by him or whoever operates his account a lot during the course of these legal developments. And, you know, I mentioned it before, using it as a way to apologize for the Cassandra Ventura hotel videotape. The fact that his entire Instagram account has been wiped clean, there are no more posts, including that video. We talked about that. I'm curious your perspective, and I'll tell you, Stephen A. Smith from ESPN, he said you delete all the videos from your Instagram account, including the one I just showed. If you had 1 million photos, if you had 1 million videos, and you decided to delete 999,999, that's the one you should have kept up if you're sincere, meaning the apology one. And I know that you've been taking a lot of hits, and there's been shrapnels of criticism all over the place aimed in your direction. Not that it wasn't deserved, although one could argue the ex that you hit had to deal with a hell of a lot more than you had to deal with in terms of the criticism. And then he goes, delete everything else, not that. Don't you want people to know that you were contrite, that you were incredibly sorry, that you have profound regret for the egregious actions that you were caught on camera committing? What's your take on deleting everything from his Instagram account?
I think that I think the apology wasn't taken the way that he thought it would be taken, number one. I don't believe it got him where he thought it would get him in terms of, and I don't know. My opinion is it was probably a crisis PR saying like, hey, you got to get something out, because I don't believe it would be, I wouldn't give the advice as a defense attorney, hey, start apologizing right away on your Instagram.
And admitting it was you on the tape.
Yeah. I would probably have, I always suggest the low key is the best way, and deleting pretty much everything. That the advice, the fact that he deleted everything, that could probably be advice from his defense attorney. The issue of him putting up the apology in the first place was probably some sort of crisis PR person. I don't think that it got the type of traction that he thought it would. Most people thought that he wasn't sincere, or now he's sorry and he wasn't sorry. He shouldn't have been sorry, or that I was in a dark place and now I'm not. I think a better move for him would have been the route to take to a AANA or some sort of retreat for like 6 months and get some treatment for whatever psychological issues and or addiction issues he may or may not have, or may, it may be that he had and now he doesn't, but it's never too late for a tune-up. Those type of things are probably a better idea. And as part and parcel of that, usually you'll find that recovery centers will say, like, get rid of your Instagram, get rid of your past, so people aren't commenting on it, and you're taking that in psychologically, where people are writing like, hey, you're still a POS, you're the worst person on the planet. And listen, everyone's a human. We lose our humanity on the internet somehow, where people think it's okay to start commenting on other people. And even if that person, is not a good person, and I'm not saying he's a good person, a bad person. I don't know him at all. But I'm certainly sure the actions that he took that day was not that of someone who was in their right mind. I think that, people have to remember that. And during those recovery periods, that's a good time to delete your Instagram, delete your posts, and have no one comment on it.
See, now that's interesting, because I thought that. I thought that he might have wanted to turn off the comments and not have his family see what people were responding on every comment, although he still kept his X account where there's some of that same content up there. But anyway, you just real quick before we close things up, you had mentioned he might have gotten advice from his criminal defense attorney to delete it. I'm confused, because that's already all out there. I mean, like, that was all taken away. It's not like he can hide it. It's not. And by the way, let's say, for example, we lived in a world where you delete your Instagram and it's totally gone. That'd be like evidence tampering. So what would be the legal advice for him to delete everything?
I think because, like I said before, whenever I get a defendant, I'm like, listen, start fresh, get rid of all that stuff, because people are putting up comments that you're then going to want to respond to, that you may put out something new. It's always a good idea just to delete all of your social accounts and start fresh, so that you're not wanting to respond to individuals. You're not wanting to put something else up. You're not wanting to do these things. And also, like I said, it's affecting you psychologically. So I always say that, and it's not destroying evidence or anything like that, because they have a copy of it. It's not like it's still in the ether somewhere. It's just that no one is able to get to you to make comments, for you to make a comment back, and then they can use that comment against you. And it's just one of those things that I think add to the distractions of a case. And you don't need any distractions. Our job as defense attorneys are difficult as they are. And I don't like to make my job more difficult with my client having an Instagram, a Twitter, all these other things that they feel like at 12 o'clock at night they need to go on and start talking about things.
Yeah, what a better world if we didn't have that stuff going on. Bradford Cohen, good seeing you. Thank you so much for coming on, sir.
Thanks, man.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.